Hello, I have written a story for you. It is called In Love with My Badass Dog. You can find it in print on Booksy. If I hadn't known dogs, I would have never found God. So it was fitting that my current best friend, a guileless young black German shepherd named Violet, was with me on my birthday. Spending the day with her was much better than spending time with an ungodly narcissist who cares more about his ego than my aching heart, or grown children who leave a gift on the porch step without knocking on the door. A comment poster on YouTube said that my children's lack of interest in me may be due to generational trauma. That is entirely possible considering how screwed up my entire family has been. But with all of the love and effort I put into making them successful adults, you'd think they could muster up a call once in a while, or at least a greeting card to let me know they are still alive. Oh well, there's nothing I can do but go on living my life. Years ago, I let go of the sorrow and loss and turned my attention to where I needed it most, to the dog I adopted at the Humane Society in 2022. She has been all I've really needed to feel loved and adored. Violet was at the shelter for a little more than a month when I found her in Kennel 31, gazing up at me with maple colored eyes that poured syrup all over me from her spot on a bed on the concrete floor. I was hesitant to get another dog after my last dog died. I swore I'd never get another one again. When I said that to my late husband, he said, "That's what you said 4 dogs ago." It was true, despite the high cost of food, veterinary bills, torn carpet, and runaway dogs who knocked me down to get out the door. I always had to look for the love of my life again. I seem to have an addiction to unconditional love that dogs so easily give when I can't find it in people. My husband was really just looking for a convenient place to crash when he married me. My best friend said he did love me, but if that is love, who needs it? I mean, some people are simply out for what they can get, and he was one of them. Dogs will go for high value treats, but they make no secret of it. And seriously, who can blame them? If I didn't have diabetes, I'd be ravaging a milk chocolate bar every hour on the hour until I was too fat to walk out the door. The sign on Violet's kennel door said "cautious," which has never stopped me from entering a kennel during my 25 years as a behaviorist at another shelter. Once our eyes locked, it was pure magic. I instantly knew she was meant for me, and I would see her through any problems she might have, no matter what it took. The kennel attendant insisted that I interact with Violet in the dog run, even though I had said I'll take her on the spot. I went along with the protocol, even though I didn't need to. Violet was already my dog. She was playful. She hopped around and bowed to me, clearly out for a good time. When she sat, she expected a treat. Clearly, she had the volunteers well trained because, truthfully, I believe she was smarter than they were. But when I walked her on a leash, I saw signs of kennel neurosis. She'd gone kennel crazy from being locked up for so long. She could no longer focus her eyes, couldn't walk a straight line, and kept tripping me. Seeing a dog break down like this truly kills me. The system treats the beings that love us the most as badly as it possibly can. The kennel attendant told me to think about my decision. I didn't need to. She was mine. 2 years old and strong enough to raise hell. What more could a lonely old lady in her 60s ask for? I'd seen her photograph on the shelter's website the night before and almost lost my shorts. What was a beauty like that doing in a shelter? Her high stepping paws, shiny black coat, and curled tail made her look like the supermodel of dogs. I couldn't wait to get my hands on her, but should I? Food and veterinary care are painful to pay for when you've got no one to help you. And that name, Viola, I couldn't possibly take on a dog that conjured up an image of a church-going lady in a coat smelling of mothballs and a pillbox hat. No, I didn't need another dog. I'd had enough. Despite my inner protests, my 2001 Toyota Camry drove on its own as I was on my way to Walmart the next day. Instead of turning right on the off-ramp, it turned left, crossed the bridge, and got back onto the freeway, heading in the direction of the city's animal shelter as if it knew what to do. Yes, she was my dog before I even met her, and as we were about to leave the shelter, a tall, doughy young man that I suppose was working off his community service hours came out to the lobby to say, "Goodbye, Viola," while gazing up at him with soft eyes. She took a step forward and seemed to say, "Goodbye, my friend. Thank you for everything." I choked on a sob. She was heading toward an unknown fate. For her, the future may be good or it may be bad. The one thing she had to take with her was her name. As much as I despised it, I was determined to allow her to keep it, if only for old time's sake. With paperwork signed and the adoption fee waived, I took the leash and headed for the door. A veterinarian assistant stopped me and handed me 2 bottles of psychiatric medication. She may need to take these temporarily, or she may need to take them for the rest of her life, she said quietly. What the hell? I'd never given a dog psychiatric medication in my life. There was no behavior problem I couldn't handle. I threw the meds in the trash without having a clue as to what I was in for. The newest member of Mount Shadow's mobile home park entered my kitchen and looked around at the washer, dryer, refrigerator, and sink. "Oh my God, I know this place," she seemed to say. She hopped around wildly. "A home, a home, I'm in a home." "I've never seen a dog so excited," my roommate said. She'd been a dog groomer at the pet store. Viola then entered the living room and saw the plastic kennel that many dogs dread. "A bed, a bed, I've got a bed." I had expected to have to train her to sleep in it, but at 6 o'clock she disappeared. I called her, I looked around. She couldn't have gotten out, but where was she? Finally, I appeared inside the darkness, and 2 amber eyes beamed at me. She had put herself to bed and would do so at 6 o'clock every night until I finally allowed her to sleep next to my bed, and then she guarded it for most of the night. She'd been raised to follow rules, and she always stood ready, staring at me constantly as she waited for the next command. She wanted to get close to me, if only she knew how. She gave it a try by hopping up and heaving all 60 pounds right onto my stomach. I cried out in pain, and she hopped down and cowered. She like that. Someone had treated her badly in the past, and now she was trying to learn how to be loved, just like I was. My roommate and I didn't care for the old-fashioned names that are currently popular. Viola reminded us too much of Hanky's denture cream. I figured Violet or Velvet would be better. She answered to Violet, and shrinking Violet seemed to be perfect for a dog that had been considered cautious. After the first night, I'd call her at about 6 o'clock in the evening. She realized I wanted to find her and would poke her head out of the kennel to say, "Here I am," and then would go back inside. But she did have some issues that were concerning. Whenever my roommate came out of her room, Violet would lunge and snarl like a demon unleashed from hell. She did it to my friend as well. Violet and I were sitting on the bed when he came in to fix my computer. Violet jumped off all fours and launched a barking tirade that had him claiming she was crazy. "Take her back," he said. "She's dangerous. So are you when I keep you around," I said. One day he got angry and came toward me yelling. Violet flew through the air, body slammed him, and went back and forth, barking and growling, so he couldn't get near me. She body slammed me every time I came through the front door, and even did it from behind when I had my morning cup of coffee in hand. I fell, the coffee flew everywhere, and my left foot was broken. I yelled so loud, she quickly learned that while body slamming worked in her own home, it wasn't going to work out here. When I took her on walks, she nearly tripped me every time. She sniffed under cars parked at the curb as if searching for bombs, and on New Year's Eve was thrilled when fireworks as loud as bombs went off outside. She went running to the door and said, "Come on, we've got this, let's go," as if we were going on a mission. I opened the door, and she spent the evening sitting faithfully as she guarded the porch. Deep in my heart, I didn't think that Violet really wanted to hurt anybody. She seemed to have been trained to act fierce. I searched protection dogs and came upon bodyguards and intimidation dogs. Yes, she had been trained to protect her owner, which was a win for me, except when I took her to see the veterinarian. Her teeth looked like chestnuts and needed to be cleaned. When the very young veterinarian entered the room, Violet made whooping noises, and the doctor's eyes widened. She pressed herself against the wall in fear, which made Violet growl. The veterinary assistant told me that she'd open the door, and if I dropped the leash, Violet would cross the hall and enter another room. She'd be okay alone because she didn't have to guard me. Wise woman. Her trick worked perfectly, but I did have to pay $30 for medication to sedate her before the doctor would clean her teeth for a whopping $700. Violet's adoption fee had been waived for the entire month of December, perhaps so she could be given to a family as a holiday gift. After all, nothing says Merry Christmas like having a 60-pound dog with sharp white teeth flying through the air to rage in your face. Cheap dog, expensive upkeep. I missed her that day, and when I came to pick her up, I know that she had missed me too. The veterinary assistant said that as soon as she put on the leash, Violet was straining down the hallway looking for me, and when she saw me waiting in a chair, she even looked relieved. I imagine once you are found as a stray, you never want to be lost again. I made circles on the top of her head as she gazed at me with loving eyes. Look at how she looks at her, someone said. I looked up and saw the entire staff watching us. Our love had spread around the room. She was mine and I was hers. If only I could have found a man that loved me that much. One sad fact about living in California is the number of homeless drug addicts on our streets. Escondido has more homeless than any other city in San Diego, mostly because it has become a hub for services and benefits, thanks to money donated by Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy. Prior to getting violent, I was afraid to walk the streets, and I needed to because of the diabetes. I realized that these disenfranchised people are someone's sons and daughters. However, I also know of the effects that prolonged drug abuse can have on the brain. Many are unable to control their behavior. They will yell and rage, hallucinate, and have delusions. And I'm sorry to say there isn't much the public can do about it, thanks to our great leaders. That problem ceased to faze me the moment Violet stepped into the picture. A shabby young man ran toward us out in front of the grocery store and yelled, "Can I pet your dog?" "Sure," I said, just before Violet leapt off all fours and roared. The man disappeared. The same thing happened while waiting in the car for a friend to do his shopping. A guy with whiskers stuck his face in the window on the passenger side where Violet was sitting. "Hi," he said. Violet stuck her face in his and cut a menacing growl that could have shattered rock. Like the other guy, he simply vanished. I didn't even see him run. But the holy grail of moments came one night when we were waiting in a drive-thru late at night. Violet was in the back seat and suddenly began to snort and growl. Then she cut loose with a roar that could only be compared to that of a wild tiger. I turned and saw a disheveled man walking away from the car. He may have only been after spare change, but if he tapped on my window, I might have died of a heart attack. I tend to be hypervigilant due to post-traumatic stress disorder. Violet saved me. I learned online that intimidation dogs are trained to guard a car to deter carjackers. If only I could rent her out for $100 an hour in a high-end area like Beverly Hills, no sane person would get near her. Around this time, I found paperwork from the shelter and analyzed it a bit more closely. She'd been determined to be unsocialized by the shelter staff. You'd think they hadn't even mentioned it, but I believe in Violet's higher self. She wanted to be good and absolutely loved her new life of pink and purple dragons, colored treats, and long walks. I ended up taking her to the grocery store, fast food restaurants, even Target with me. She was obedience trained to the core and then had protection training. She was my service dog to guard me from the effects of PTSD, and I dare anyone to doubt me. My mother died, and I saw my daughter for the first time in months at the lawyer's office, sitting in a breathtaking Spanish courtyard with a large trickling fountain in the middle. We chatted for a few moments, and she reminded me that a dog she'd had while living in Hawaii had the same characteristics. Her husband had been Navy, and my daughter had found a shepherd mix wandering the streets. He had an APO military tag on his collar, but she never could find the owner. Like Violet, she cowered if my daughter raised her voice and had some protection training. We finally concluded that someone in the military had deployed and simply turned Copper loose in the streets. Maybe this is a thing some military personnel do, because I see all the signs that the same thing had happened to Violet. So sad. I am not saying that these were dogs in the military. It is possible that the soldiers lived off base and trained the dogs as long as they were in a stable spot. Once they deployed to the unknown, the animals were set free, never to see their owners again. You'd have to be a certain type of nasty to do such a thing. The night was cool and quiet. As I sat at my computer and Violet came to sit beside me, she no longer waited for orders from across the room. She'd gotten into the habit of getting her head rubbed as I watched YouTube videos. As my fingers circled the top of her fuzzy head, she turned to look up at me. With love so overpowering, I felt as if I was being drawn into an angelic realm. Light softly blinked inside her eyes as I dived headfirst into a place where few people have been before. It was a place of pure spiritual warmth. No one has ever loved me as well as Violet does. And if nobody ever does again, at least I had this one surreal moment to cherish for a lifetime. So it was fitting that on my birthday, on November 14th, 2022, we were traveling down West Valley Parkway together in my old Toyota Camry with Violet's black pointy ears flicking back and forth in my rearview mirror as we pulled into the long line at In-N-Out, a line where researchers might one day find the skeletons of customers still waiting in their cars. A large woman in a white SUV demanded that I drive around her. Normally, I don't take getting bossed around too well, but I was in a good mood that day. I did as she asked, and when I got to the window, the cashier in the white hat beamed at me as he told me that the boisterous lady had paid for my meal and wanted to wish me happy holidays. Thank you, it's my birthday, I yelled. I don't know if she heard me. As sad as my situation might have been, with most of my relatives dead and my grown children not giving a shit about me, I did have a great day. When the Beatles sang All You Need Is Love, they couldn't have been more accurate. All you really need is a kind person, a great burger, and a dog that loves French fries. Thank you for joining me.